Hello, I'm Troy Parker, President and CEO of Innovative Labor and Cleaning. This is another Mental Health Monday. Quote for today: chickens come home to roost, and so do your thoughts. Be careful what sort of thoughts you send out. Many times we will think something or say something about another person that's not exactly the nicest thing to say. And most of these times we'll say it or think about it and go about our merry way, thinking that we gave it away, like say we gave a material possession away, maybe a shirt, a pair of shoes, something we're no longer using. But thoughts are not like that. Material things you can give away and it really has no real effect on you. But your thoughts that you send out and the words you speak, they go out, but they also stay with you. And many times they'll be in your subconscious mind and flash back into your life, not in the form you sent them out in just a thought or a word, but it'll be in an action or an event or words that someone is saying to you. And then we'll wonder, well, how the hell did that happen? Why did this happen to me? And we don't realize the very same negative thought or ideal that we spoke about another has now come home to visit upon us. Keep in mind, be conscious of the things you think. And a lot of people are more worried about what they say and they just totally disregard what they think. But you always have to remember, the thought comes first. Sometimes we may think something and then we'll say, oh, that's not nice, so I'm not going to say it. But we've already thought it. Now notice you're thinking, well, how do I stop from thinking it? It's a habit, just like the habit you've created of thinking the negative thought. Many times we'll see something. It can be anything, some event, and we automatically feel we have to put a judgment on it, good or bad. And if we say it's good, okay, then we can praise it and say why. If it's bad, then we have to give our opinion on why it's bad. We'll go into these mental conversations with ourselves or actual conversations with others. So we build up the habit of first putting a judgment on whatever we hear instead of just letting it go past. Someone says, oh, such and such is leaving the firm. We automatically say, oh, that'll be terrible. Now I have to do more work, or this is going to happen and our checks will be late because that person was over accounting and whatnot. We quickly, without even realizing it, put a judgment on it. And if that judgment is bad, and most of the time it is because people are more used to negative thinking, we then create a whole chain of events of how it'll just make everyone's life just terrible. Get more in the habit of when someone comes to you or you hear something, it could be the news, you could read it in the paper. Instead of judge it, just take it in. Don't judge it one way or another. Just, it just is. Now this is going to be a hard habit to set up because we're already, like I said, in the habit of deciding, well, wait a minute, is this good or is it bad? We'll hear something on the news, just like everyone's talking about the recession. Oh my gosh, we're almost right to the recession. If the Fed does one more thing, we're going to tip over into the recession. They've been talking up this recession for months now. So you're going to have one part of the population. What are they going to do? They're going to start saving. They're going to cut back. And then they're going to say, well, I read it here and that's bad. Recession's bad. So we need to save our money. We're not going to spend. We're going to put this off. We're not going to buy this. And you know what we do? We end up creating the very recession that we heard about. No one really thinks about that. They think, well, this happens and that happens and here comes a recession. But the recession is made up of what? People. So what has to happen? People have to behave in a certain way for a recession to happen. And what do they have to do? They got to quit spending. And why do they quit spending? Why? Because they heard, hey, there's going to be a recession. So they stop spending before the recession. Then the recession comes, you know what they're going to say? I'm glad we listened to that because they were right. We heard about that and we knew it was going to be bad. So we saved our pennies. You ever wondered what would happen if no one changed their behavior? Everybody kept spending. Everyone kept thinking prosperously and abundantly. I wonder what would happen then. Food for thought. Keep in mind what you think and what you say. When things happen, try to look at them as just events. Don't say bad or good, because remember the story. There was a man who had a son, and his son was riding on a horse, and he fell off the horse, broke his leg, and his neighbor came and said, oh, that's bad. And the father said, maybe. Then something broke out in their land and there was a war. And then they came and they drafted all the young men. And when they came by the one neighbor's house, they took his son. But when they came to the man's house whose son had fell off the horse, they said, he can't serve because he had broken his leg. You see, the first event seemed like it was a bad event, but really it turned out to be a blessing. So keep in mind, you really never know what an event is, good or bad. You start to label it, then it starts to turn towards how you're putting the judgment, because you're only going to see it how you've judged it. When you leave the judgment off and let it just take its course, many times what you deem as bad ends up to be something very good. I hope this has helped you, and as always, remember, it's up to you to make your life matter.